Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening. Thanks for being here with us. We are very excited to present to you these incredible sessions that we will have today. So, thank you for being here and welcoming. We want to start saying thank you to all our sponsors. Then give us a second and we will present you our sponsors. Uh, Thank you so much. Today we will have the sessions, the power of conflict resolutions in negotiations, and we are very happy to say thank you to all our sponsors. Some of them are PMI chapters. Thank you to Guayas, Ecuador, República Dominicana, Eslovenia, Ljubljana, Lima, Perú, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Santiago de Chile, Buenos Aires, Argentina, Bajío, México. Also, thank you to Holistic PMC and the Botswana chapter. Thank you so much for being our sponsors. And if you want to be our sponsors, please text us, contact us. We will be very happy to come with you. Well, today we will prepare you a very, very interesting sessions, and we want to share with you this agenda. First of all, we will have this welcome and some interesting introductions. Also, we will have the keynote speech, conflict resolution, that it is the topic for today. We will have time for some Q&A sessions to close this part of the event. And also, we will have a practical part of this session with conflict resolution analysis with Jen and I. We will have a small break, 5 minutes, to relax and absorb all the knowledge that we will have during these sessions. After that, we will have a talk regarding conflict resolution case in the mining sector. Finally, we will have a Q&A session for all the topics that we review during this session. And finally, we will have the closings and some announcements about our future events and other things. Then, welcome again. Today, we will have a very good speakers. We are very proud to have Andrew here, and thank you, Andrew, for all your knowledge that we will share with us. Let me share a little bit about Andrew's experience, and trust me, it's only a little bit because Andre is a very, very experienced man. Andre Vlok is a seasoned conflict resolution expert and mediator with over 25 years of experience in handling complex disputes across various sectors. He holds advanced qualification in law and conflict management, which have equipped him with the skills to resolve conflicts in corporate, community, and international settings. Andre's approach is rooted in empathy, active listening, and a deep understanding of human behavior, making him a sought-after consultant and trainer in negotiation and mediation. His work has helped countless organizations and also individuals turn conflict into opportunities for growth and collaborations. Andrew, thanks again for being here. Thanks for your time, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. What a wonderful topic. What an interesting topic. I commend you for seeing the link between negotiation and conflict resolution. As we'll see, those are at this stage, at least in practice and to an extent in theory, very much still separate fields with their separate avenues of study, their separate practitioners. And while that's changing, we still, if you start reading the books, the popular books available on this, you'll very much see there's still a tendency to treat the two fields as two separate fields. Now, if you speak to people like myself, we want that to change. And today, I'd like to start us thinking along those lines. I intend showing you the benefits of seeing negotiation and conflict as two very much interlinked topics, fields of study and fields of practice. As project managers, I think you could only benefit from combining the two. In my own practice and academic work that I do, they are very much, they're practically speaking, one field, one approach to conflict and to negotiations. Personally, I regard, especially in the modern world, with your negotiations, these are wonderful examples of conflict. We need to look at how we understand conflict. For project managers, at least in my own experience, my own clients, my own consulting work with project managers, I find that you deal with in most of your fields globally. Project managers deal with as much conflict as they deal with negotiations. They just call it negotiations. So if we expand not just our view, but our approach and our skill set to include the current best practices of conflict and conflict resolution, both the studies and the practice, I really think that is the modern way to go. We're already seeing the seeds of that in Europe. You'd hardly start a modern negotiation course in anything comprehensive without some very, very solid roots in conflict. If we look at at our understanding of conflict itself. For most people, conflict either has this very big canvas where we're talking about wars and battles and things like that, or conflict has to do with violence or loud arguments, fights with each other. Now, of course, all of those examples are indeed conflict, but what I'm asking you, the first mindset change that I'm asking you to consider today is to see your negotiations as conflict. Conflict in this sense is a modern approach where we simply look at negotiation as a difference in interests. If I try to sell you a product and you're not really interested, or you can't afford it, or you already have another service provider, that is conflict. Our interests are different. We don't see the result the same. And while we bring all of the skill, all of the theory and the practice of negotiation to this, we certainly help ourselves by widening our lens to also see it as conflict. Conflict where we disagree. Conflict where we're not just talking about guns and fights, we're also talking about disagreement, a difference in interest, a difference in end goals. In that sense, every negotiation, every time you sit down and try to make a sale, every time a project manager has to persuade someone, to convince someone, you are in conflict with that person. Now, we need to lose our discomfort with that. You can be friends with the person on the other side of the table. You can be colleagues, but you are in conflict. So it's very necessary for us to start shifting our approach to conflict. You may already see conflict that way and negotiations that way. If not, that is a mental step you need to take, where negotiations are ultimately conflicts, commercial conflicts, specialized conflicts, where the rules and the goals may be different, but certainly you do yourself a tremendous favor by approaching your negotiations, your commercial negotiations, your everyday project manager tasks, as especially the client-facing ones, as conflicts as disagreements, conflicts as different interests. Now, from there, if we take this wider view of conflict, a very new world opens for us. I don't know if you have any formal training in negotiation. There's quite a lot of material available out there, whether it's books or YouTube videos, courses, and so on. For example, I present a 6-month course in both those. I know there are quite a few courses out there. There's a lot of junk out there. There's a lot of quite irresponsible stuff out there, but professional project managers you can make a very good start by picking up some negotiation skill. It is not, and this is one of the things that conflict, the studies at least show us, that negotiations, it's not a hit and miss. It's not the easy part of your job. It's not good enough to simply pitch, sit down, go through your little speech that the employer may have shared with you. That will get you through the day, yes, but certainly there is so much of science behind these new techniques, new strategies. Very much a case of improving the probabilities of success. If certainly my own clients, corporate clients, if this is available to project managers, don't you have a duty to train yourself to, if these skills, and it's a fully transferable skill, if these skills are available to us and they at the negotiating table, they give us an edge, a manageable and a measurable edge, should we not, don't we have a responsibility to our clients, to our employers, to our colleagues, to hone that skill as much as we can, as much as we have time for? Now, Obviously, not every one of us want to or can become a negotiating expert or conflict expert. But the second point I want you to consider today is an invitation. These skills, these measurable, manageable techniques and strategies are available to you. They are there for you to decide, or for your employer to decide, to what extent you can be better. Because as soon as you start working with this, you will be better. That is a promise. You will see in your first few days of studying this, with or without a coach, you will see the results improving. You will feel more confident. And we have a saying in conflict studies that your conflict competence leads to conflict confidence, and that you will feel as well. If you know that in a boardroom, in a pressurized commercial environment where you're negotiating and where a lot is at stake, where if once you know where to look for, once you start understanding people better, once you start seeing the mechanisms and the levers and the buttons available to you in negotiation, especially as a result of the conflict combination with negotiations, you will gain in competence and gain in confidence. And that starts snowballing, and you become better and better and better at it, which in turn hopefully leads to you wanting to learn more. As with most things that we're successful at, we tend to, then it becomes interesting. Then it's not just a topic I had to listen to on a Saturday afternoon. So consider that it's all available to you. You decide the level, you decide the time you invest in this, and whether it's just you doing it yourself, or as we see globally, and it's very heartening and inspiring to see some project managers, once they see the benefit of this, they love to institutionalize it in their own business, in their own practice, and to share it with their colleagues. Now, what is the synergy between conflict and negotiation? For those who have spent any time with negotiations, the field is, I spend a lot of time with it as well, so I'm not criticizing it. I'm a great fan of organized negotiations, the coaching, the skill, the theory behind it, the science behind it, but it has become a field that is stagnated to a large extent. You will find if every 2 or 3 years, the books are the same, the authors are different, the books are the same, the skills, the techniques, the tips and tricks, they very much, it's out there, and it is a field that stays the same. Conflict management, conflict resolution, is conflict transformation. On the other hand, is a skill, is a field that is absolutely running away with development. We are seeing an absolute multitude of interrelated disciplines, from psychology to law, neuropsychology, sociology, microsociology. It is a long list of fields, all flowing into what we can call conflict resolution. And it has a science side and it has an art side. And if you marry that with negotiations, you will find a long list of practical benefits to you in your project management work. Let's look at a few examples of those. We see, as a result of conflict knowledge and conflict application to negotiations, we start seeing a long list of quite counterintuitive things. Things that common sense, things that those old negotiation workshops of a few years back have told us are standard and safe strategies, we find that they're not, and that they actually work against our best interests. For example, a lot of the more conventional, more traditional negotiation strategies tell us over and over about compromise. We even have in English, we even have a lot of sayings about it. Meet you in the middle. You have to get some to give some. Now, compromise in the negotiating field is set. We are trained that way. And sorry to say, a lot of people in the persuading games, whether it's project managers, salespeople, etc., that's it. That's the extent of their skill in negotiation and conflict management. I compromise. As soon as there's a difference of opinion, as soon as there's a difference of interest, you say 10, I say 5, let's call it 7, and that's it. The sale is done, I look good, and we move on. Compromise, we see as our first example, is if you're skilled in conflict, you are going to bring that skill to your negotiating skills and your negotiating repertoire, and you're going to find that compromise is unnecessary, that there are alternatives to it, that there are creative alternatives to it. If as a senior, as a director, as an employer, those easy compromise sales have their benefit, but they certainly limit you. They limit the business, they limit the growth, and they certainly limit you as an individual, career-wise. There's the third invitation. Add some conflict knowledge to that and see how new walls, new doors open, where compromise once you become comfortable with that concept, you're going to be very, very skeptical about compromise solutions. Compromise solutions, the science shows us very clearly. Compromise leads to resentment sometimes. Compromise is where both people, both sides, or all sides, give something away that they would have preferred to keep. And that is why in negotiation, in project management careers, where you find difficulties building up between people because of those compromises, just to calm down, just to get the paperwork signed, we compromise. And that is not good negotiating skills. It is not good conflict skills. It creates resentment. It creates future problems. Yes, maybe we signed the agreement today. Maybe we got the deal closed. But adding conflict to negotiation shows us what we missed, what benefits, what creative solutions we walked away from. So compromise is one good example of where we should be, where conflict brings a new facet to negotiations. We find, as a second example, we find that negotiations deal, generally speaking, negotiation and the art thereof, even the study thereof, deal with symptoms, if I can use a medical analogy. We ask ourselves, why don't you want to buy from me? Why can I not close this sale? Why don't you want to give me an interview? Why are you difficult in this project management event? Why can I not persuade you? Now, those are symptoms. And negotiation give us some very limited tools to assess that and to strategize. If you've ever sat in a session where you have to strategize, okay, so how are we going to convince this client? If you've been dealing with the symptoms, it's good, it's necessary, but you haven't opened the entire toolbox. You are dealing with a limited set of tools in persuasion. With conflict, we step back from the symptoms. Those questions, they're necessary questions, of course they are, but conflict added to negotiation make it possible for us to look behind the symptoms. What is the cause of this conflict? Why is the symptoms it's one thing, it's important, that's what we run up against, that's the wall we feel we need to overcome. But conflict is going to help us to look behind that, to understand at a much deeper level why those things are happening. And conflict resolution helps us to then persuade people to, for example, if we look at identity conflicts, it's a very complex field in conflict resolution. If we bring that to negotiation, we understand why, again, we mentioned earlier some counterintuitive pieces of advice that in olden days and still are practiced. We find, thanks to the study and the science coming out of conflict resolution, how the wrong way of trying to persuade, even and this is very difficult to explain to people who are not open to the conflict side of things, where even objective facts, you are armed with statistics, with maths, and you really feel that this presentation, this project management event speaks for itself. You must have had that experience where everything looks so good on paper and still you can't persuade the other person. That is conflict. That is not using conflict. In this case, identity conflicts. That would give you tools to understand, firstly, how in certain instances objective evidence, objective facts work against you. That is a topic for another day. But I'm highlighting this as an example to show you the necessity, in my view, of bringing conflict into knowledge of conflict into your negotiations, where in that example, where we will find that objective evidence, statistics, maths, video evidence, all those wonderful things we arm ourselves with, are not in themselves enough to persuade people, to negotiate effectively. And if we add that skill, if we know what to add to objective facts, how to time it, the sequence of events, all of those things are conflict skills. And if we don't bring them into our negotiations, we may be successful, but we certainly we lessen our chances, our probabilities, our statistics of good negotiating outcomes. It is with my students that it is a thing of beauty to see their faces and to see when they listen to this part of the course. It's a 6 months course, and they listen to this part, and you can see the eyes roll and the skepticism. I know my negotiations. You can't teach me anything. But once they start working with this, it really opens the doors. It brings a. I wouldn't base a career on it if it didn't. So those are a few examples of conflict, how they work, and what we could add to our skill set. If you need more examples, there are more. Conflict is we don't need to go into, if you solely want to add it to your project management skills, there are select items of knowledge that you can add to your negotiating skills. I'm sure the team here would be working that into their programs and their lessons going forward. But once you know what is available to you, once you know how limited a negotiating expert's toolbox is, if without conflict, I would really like to think that you would never again consider only having a negotiator's toolbox. Thank you. Those are my thoughts. If there's anything that we could, I know there's a Q&A later on, if there's anything we should add at this stage.
Thank you so much, Andre. It was very, very useful for us, all the information that you shared. And we have a lot of questions for our audience. If you can help us answering, some of them. The first mention, what was your biggest conflict at work you had to resolve?
Does fighting with my wife count? No. Um, the we need to look at conflict as I love the question, and I get it often, and we need to look at conflict not as something to run away from. I did that, even though this is my job. Very few of us enjoy conflict. We tend to compromise. We tend to kick the can down the road. So once we start seeing conflict properly done, skillfully done, as a fuel that gets us places, that deepens our relationships, that adds value to our work, our relationships, that conflict well done is a wonderful asset, is a wonderful thing to have in your life, then it literally changes everything. And in my work, I do a lot of political work. I do a lot of the majority of my work is employment based, where a whole factory is upset with me. Once you see that, and I have that on a nearly daily basis. Once you see that as an opportunity to break through and to share something with what a person that you may regard and even call your enemy, then it all becomes, all of it becomes opportunities, and expanding your own knowledge, at sharing, at arriving at creative solutions. And in that process, what I regarded in the beginning as, oh, this is so difficult, that's hard. I now at this stage, the harder the challenge is, the more I enjoy it, and the more I see opportunities in that. Of course, not all conflicts can be resolved. That's unrealistic and I think unhealthy. But once we're back to the confidence leading to you being comfortable. There's no conflict that's more difficult than the rest. You walk into this comfort zone where you start seeing the buttons and the triggers, and then whether it's a union or political work, it all becomes very rewarding and an absolute joy to deal with.
Thank you, Andre. We have a second question. What was the first instant that you realized that you need training to negotiate professionally?
I did 20. Another great question. I practice. I'm a lawyer by training, and I did that for 20 odd years. And I started, everything. You just use a hammer. Everything is a nail, and everything gets hammered. If you disagree with me, I'll sue you. If you don't give me what I want, I'll sue you. And that's sort of, and I ran up against the limitations of that. Some things, sometimes litigation is a good thing. Of course it is. Some problems, I suppose, we need to take to court. But to answer the question, I ran up against the absolute limited nature of litigation. And I realized that then I started seeing the beauty of conflict and the negotiating side of it. And I realized that here it's more difficult, it's more challenging. It's not as simple as to say, well, Alexandra, I'll sue you, like lawyers do. We now have to work harder. We now have to be more creative. But if we manage that, if we do it properly, everything from the relationship to the result to the business outcome is just so much better. And that's when I realized that, yes, you're a senior, well-experienced lawyer, but you're very bad at transcending conflicts. You, in fact, creating conflicts. And that's when I realized, okay, this is a wonderful way of approaching conflict. Will always be with us, It should always be with us. Can you imagine a society or a relationship where there's absolute zero conflict? You can't, you shouldn't. I mean, that's just wrong to think that way. So when I realized all of those things, I at age, I was 53 years old then when I realized, okay, you need to change course. You need to study this formally, and you really need to become an expert at this. And then it was just, it was just, it was very rewarding.
Thank you, Andre. And then we have a combo because we have two questions related. The first of them, what is a must have position, attitude, verbal or not verbal communication in the mindset of a conflict resolution negotiator?
Let's do them one by one. There is no the conflict resolution as a field is created its own. It's been naughty in not explaining this. There's this popular picture of a mediator and a conflict person as conflict practitioner as being calm and zen-like and always calm, and we always placate people. That's nonsense. I'm a grumpy old guy. I could be very unpleasant. I can fight with the best of them. There's no good, normal, best attitude or personality trait even. Conflict is once you understand, I suppose it's a bit like art or sport. Once you're good at it, a lot of people know me as I'm not necessarily friendly. I'm not necessarily kind and polite, but they know there are other things that are important. Those are the things we use. A bit of politeness, a bit of kindness, of course, it opens doors. It takes you further. But there's no personality trait. You don't always have to be calm. You don't have to be reasonable. You need to know your stuff. You need to know the science behind it, and that's the way of getting the good results. What was the second question there?
Yes, the second is, what tech or tactic should I use to start solving historical resentments and create the minimum proper environment for negotiating successful? I think this is a very good one.
That is, yeah, historical resentments is I wrote about this in my first book, and as South Africans, we of course have that 30 years after democracy arrived. We still have that, and this is maybe the best example of how negotiations can suffer if we don't have the conflict side, that knowledge, and we don't apply it. Resentments, historical resentments, for we make so many mistakes in dealing with them that they become worse. And I see that in my country. People tell you to forget, to move on. People make concessions that causes resentment in their camps. Historical resentment, whether it's on an individual level or a group level, whether it's professional or private, it is, I would say, one of the most complex, one of the most sensitive fields to approach. Of course, every question should be approached as an individual one, but as for general principles, be very, very cautious about forcing. And as professionals, sometimes, even as project managers, I think, certainly on my side of the fence, we try to push people into getting to peace. Leave your resentment. It's been 30 years. Why are you still feeling this way? Those are all the wrong buttons. To work with it on a more practical level is to bring time and patience and peace to that person. You may not, very few of those historical resentments are solvable. That's an important consideration. But the science and the case studies show us very clearly how people are quite prepared to move on from them once they feel heard, once they maybe for the first time in their lives have had an opportunity to truly, not in a condescending, patronizing way, not in the way that, for example, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa did, where you've got 30 minutes, sit down, let's get it over with quickly and move on. It has to be a process with that person, with that group, where things are acknowledged, things are where dignity comes into the picture. And again, for purposes of today's topic, there again, it's not just a negotiating topic. If you approach it as just a negotiating issue, you are going to really come up very short. You need the background here. You need that information. You need the skill and the science to be able to back you with. Historical resentments this is the good news that the case studies show us, they can be improved. They can be, I hesitate to say solved, because that again tends to minimize the harm and the damage. But they can be made manageable. They certainly can be made something that in a project you can work with, and where it doesn't become the fatal obstacle that it so often is, because we mismanage it. And those landmines just under the surface, we don't necessarily always link it why the project fails, but it's often you can link a failure of a project, of a relationship, to historical resentments not being acknowledged, not being seen, not being assessed, and not being properly dealt with.
Not an easy one, but we can do that. Thank you so much, Andrew, for your participation here. On behalf of the entire team of negotiation for project managers, we want to say thank you. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all the knowledge that you share with us. Thank you so much.
My privilege. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we will continue with Misael Castro. Let me introduce him. He is an IT program manager with over 20 years of experience as a service technology provider across various industries such as telecom, airlines, automotive, food and beverage, and financial service. Having worked in more than 10 countries, Misael holds an AI diploma certificate and a specialization in prompt engineering. He is renowned for his ability to rapidly adapt to new industries and cultures, and embracing innovation, conflicts, and negotiation, an essential part of this role. Then this is the right person to talk about the next topic. Thank you, Misael, for being here, and over to you.
Thank you, Alexandra, for the great introduction. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, let me, I'll start my presentation showing a slide about what we can get the most from AI. So I'd like to start that, AI can be our strategic partner in many, many fields, right? And today we're going to see how it can be a good strategic partner in conflict resolution, okay? So I will be doing a demonstration, and I will play some videos, right? We will use ChatGPT and Gemini to analyze the transcripts, the content of these conflicts that occur in the workplace, okay? And but you know what? There is something I would like to say, that AI is not just a tool. I will say that if AI is not just a tool, how can I use AI as my strategic partner? Well, maybe that is something that we ask ourselves, right, when dealing with generative AI. But we can use the AI as a conflict resolution advisor. We can use it to simulate conflict resolution in a safe environment. We can use it to solve or exploit conflicts more creatively. We can use it to predict and anticipate to conflicts. And we can use it for training purposes, or even for lessons learned discussion with your team members in your projects to teach conflict resolution discipline. Now, for today's sessions, I prepare two use cases. One is about the conflict between the two healthcare workers. I'll play the video, and then we'll use Gemini to analyze the information, and we'll have interaction with this model to find ways to solve conflicts. Now, the other case that I prepare for this event is to have or generate a conflict analysis report. And we will use ChatGPT to generate this report. We are going to grab the information from a transcript, and we will learn from the case study report. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to share my screen and I will play a video for you to give you context about one conflict, and then we'll go through the large language models to interact. Okay. So give me a second. All right. So now I'm going to share the video. Great. Okay. Please take a listen.
Hi, what you're going to be seeing right now is a conflict between two community health workers in their workplace.
Cindy, did you ever get a chance to finish the report?
What report are you talking about? Because I know there was a few reports. So what report can you tell me?
The one that's due tomorrow.
You know what? I didn't. It's been really hard for me. I have been in the field a lot, doing a lot of outreach.
I mean, I understand that, but this deadline is tomorrow. Like,
I haven't even had no time to do it inside. I'm barely touching base here.
it's been on your desk for 2 weeks.
Wait, hold on. Who made you in charge?
The deadline is due tomorrow.
You're my equal.
I mean, I understand that, but we have a deadline, and
But who made you in charge?
But I have to keep us on task and stay and focus on deadlines.
Well, then
Deadlines
why
can
don't you
be
do
pushed
some of the
back.
outreach? I'm dealing with this guy, one of our patients that just had a stroke, doesn't speak English and doesn't even speak and is having problems. And I've been trying to get him housed. And I've been working with him every day. You could have told me way before.
I have told you. I've sent you countless emails, and it's sitting. You have a draft
But
sitting
no,
on your
you shouldn't even
desk.
told me. You shouldn't even told me. Dr. Allen should have told me and sent me an email. You're not my boss.
All right. So now you have context about this conflict, okay, about the two workers at the healthcare industry who are having a discussion. And I will have the conversation with Gemini, okay? So let me share my screen again. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again, and apologies about the technical issue that I had. So I'm going to share my screen, okay, and I'm going to interact with the model, okay. Oh, wow. Right. Okay, and now as you see, okay, I'm sharing my screen now, okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the model into. I'm going to start a new chat, okay, with Gemini. I am going to create the persona. I'm going to create the to put the model into context and what the goal is about. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, you know, have the model into my context, and now I will ask, okay, I'll ask Gemini to go analyze that video, and I will start the interaction with Gemini to see other ways to solve this problem, okay? So Gemini goes to YouTube, okay, and it will bring the information, okay, about this conflict. Now, what I will do is I will, ask Gemini to generate a quick summary in 30 words, okay? And then after Gemini goes and analyze the information, it will give me the quick summary, right? Saying, hey, yes, there is a conflict, and here is the information about the two coworkers that are discussing about a report not being able to deliver tomorrow. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I will continue interacting with the model, and now I will ask, right? Go and tell me, analyze the video and tell me what triggers the conflict and why the conflict got escalated. Okay. And now Gemini is going again to YouTube video, right? And it's giving me the information about what, why what triggers the conflict, right? And why the conflict got escalated. And I can get more information about it. But I'm getting the most relevant information that I need from the model in order to find ways to solve these conflicts. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Gemini to give me some ideas, right? Because as a mediator, I want to see what are some effective ways or some effective strategies to resolve and employ to resolve this conflict, right? So now Gemini is going again, search the information, right, and say, hey, as a mediator, you can use these techniques. You can use the active listening. You can have a be the facilitator. You can have some brainstorming solutions with both co-workers and see other alternatives to come out with a solution and solve these problems. And I can continue digging more and more into this conversation, right? So now I mean I can ask even give me some never seen before creative solutions, and I can have really good ideas that will help me to resolve conflicts more creatively, right? And I will finish just this use case, just asking the model, okay, tell me what are some possible solutions or compromises that could address this conflict. And it's giving me some ideas, like for example, you can maybe uh, have some deadlines prioritization, excuse me. You can have some, have open communication. You can have either divide the work between the two coworkers, and I have more ideas from the model. Okay. So now what I want to do is I will go to my second use case, which is about doing analysis on the conflict in a workplace. But these are two team members that are having a discussion, right, due to a deadline. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, okay, I'm going to use ChatGPT, okay, because I want to use a different model just to show you what a ChatGPT can do for us, okay. And what I'm going to do here, okay, I create the persona, and I will set the goal, and I want to put ChatGPT into the context. Okay. Now that I have created the persona and the goal that we are trying to achieve, okay, I am going to ask ChatGPT to go and extract the video. Okay, extract the video, right? And then once I have, because I have the transcript already, and I will attach it and uh, ask ChatGPT to analyze it because I will ask for information to the model. Okay. And now what I will do, okay, and this is something that I really think you should think about your daily work, and you can also potentially use even to generate case studies or for teaching purposes in your field. Okay. So now what I'm asking is to the model, right, to generate this report, okay, and it's giving me two options here. So let's finish for the model to generate the options, and then I will select the one I feel uh, more that I think is more suitable for me. Okay. Now, ChatGPT is giving me, right, based on the prompt and template that I insert, it's giving me the background of the conflict, right? And it's giving me the source of the conflict. They say, okay, I want to know what are the sources and the type of conflict that I'm having here, right? I could read the details, but unfortunately, we don't have so much time, so I will just go through the more relevant information. But I just want to show you what you can learn from this case, right? I can also ask, tell me who are the parties involved, right? We have the two coworkers and the project manager who is part of this uh, conversation and in this conflict, and why the conflict happened, right? And having more information about why the conflicts happen and the impact, and then the actions taken to resolve this conflict, right? Now, what I want to do is how to say, uh, just let me 1 second, please. Excuse me 1 second. I would like to close my presentation just to share my screen. Okay, show. Screen, okay. Okay, hopefully you'll be able to see my screen now. All right. 1 second, please. Okay, so now that you already saw the demonstration using ChatGPT and Gemini, I just would like to close this presentation and just tell you that try to picture in a workplace, right, how you see AI as your strategic partner and how you can collaborate with the model, and also, you know, imagine how you can have AI assisting in mediation activities like AI could analyze past conflicts, identify recurring patterns, and offer neutral suggestions to help parties find common ground. And AI can also uh, do kind of providing early warnings, monitoring communications patterns and behaviors. So with that, I conclude my presentation. I really thank you for watching and listening, and I pass the ball back to uh, Alexandra.
All this knowledge that you share. And now we will have a small break for 5 minutes in order to drink water, etc. And we will contact you again in 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Hi again, we are back. Thanks for your patience. And well, now we will continue with these interest sessions with Rob. Rob, welcome aboard. And let me introduce, well, I think that we have some questions. We will have a Q&A session after Rob participations, but if you want to take it now, Misa, we have these questions. How do you see AI on the flight at the real-time conflict?
Yeah, I think that it will be a very good tool for us to increase our efficiency and find ways to resolve conflicts more creatively and create harmony in our projects. I
Thank you
hope
so
I
much.
was able to answer the question.
No, just, and I think it's a very interesting way to do that, right? It's a new one, but a very interesting and also robust.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And well, we
Yeah, I
have
think this is
other.
another.
This is a fantastic application of AI. One of the biggest challenge I have using tools such as ChatGPT are determining the right prompts. Do you have any tips for deciding on the best prompts to get the answer that you need?
Uh, you know, I'm going to try to answer, right, because this is quite broad, and in sometimes there is ambiguity in the models, right? So sometimes one prompt will work today, it may not work tomorrow. I think that the key is to put the model into the context, right? To create the persona, embody somebody that is expert, for example, in conflict resolution. Let's see, for example, Mr. Andre, he's good at conflict, and we tell the ChatGPT, for example, you are Andre, he's a conflict resolution specialist, right? You're telling the model who he will embody, and then put the model into the context. When you put the model into the context, is that means that to say, okay, here is the goal, here is what we are trying to achieve, and this is what I expect. When you set all those lines, or you put that into the context with the model, then you start interacting, right? Even if you don't have any idea what prompt would be the right, you can tell, hey, this is what I want to achieve. Give me a couple of suggestions for what is the best prompt to get what I expect. Now, the other thing is we will have, I mean, we will share with the audience the prompts that we see are powerful for conflict resolutions. And I have also some simulations prompts that people can simulate and practice in a safe environment conflict resolution.
Thank you so much, Misael. And I am pretty sure that we will receive more questions. Then, in the ending of these sessions, we can talk again. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
And now, as I mentioned in the past, we will have the participation of Rob. Rob, come to the stage. And let me share some of the relevant information about Rob. And it's only a little bit, as I say with Andrew, because Rob is a very seasoned project manager there. It's only a little bit. Well, Rob Castillo is a seasoned IT project manager with a sense of curiosity, research, and technology surveillance spirit that allows him to quickly onboard on business logic and perform a consulting role regarding implementing technologies like hyperautomation, data science, quantum computing, as well as a hybrid PM, BPM, innovation, change management, and by so shorten the learning gap to analyze the pros and cons to decide if implementing. Also, from the experience gathered, they has developed a model to facilitate the elicitation process supported by assertive communication, negotiations, bond building, and strong analytic skills. And other facts that we need to know. He is also a passionate artisan cook of Peruvian cuisine and a tennis player. Then, Rob, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Alexandra, for the detailed and long presentation. Okay, before starting show about my slides, I would like to tell you guys that I had a chance to manage a small firm a long time ago in the environmental consulting field. So I deal a lot with artisan miners, which are informal, and unfortunately some of them are illegal. Okay, the line between both is very, very thin and gray. Misael, would you please? Or should I present? Alexandra, please, I will present, or will you present the slides? Or Misael, I don't know which one of you is going to give me a hand with that.
I will.
Okay, thank you. And in the presentation, I will try to put you in context. How did the mining industry began over 9,000 years ago? All right.
Okay, now I will share my screen, bro.
Thank you, Misa.
Okay.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, we have named this conflict resolution case. Indeed, it's a conflict resolution evolution or traceability in history. In particularly, Peru was part of the Inca Empire. So from 9,000 years before Christ to the 15th century, it was a vast and wealthy land ruled by over 15 cultures, the Chavin, the Mochicas, the Chimu, and finally the Inca Empire, that where the mining industry began. The first, please go back. Yeah, okay, stay there, stay there. Okay, the first picture you see in the bottom on the left side is a mosaic of the many jewels prepared, handcrafted by the Mochica culture. The Mochica culture was a culture that focused, they were goldsmiths. And when they were conquered by the Chimus, they have already developed an extensive production in goldsmith. Like do you see on the top to the right, that is an octopus headband. It weighs around 1 kilo and it has been exposed all over the world. Next, please. The maximum authority in the Mochica culture was the Lord of Zipan. He was traveled also all around the world from museum to museum, and he is known by the enormous amount of gold that was found in his grave. But then, as it happens, the Chimu culture conquered the Mochicas, the Mochica culture. The Chimus were also goldsmiths, but basically they were warriors, and they conquered the Mochicas. And the difference is that the Mochicas were good negotiating. So they By negotiating, they suffer a smooth transition to the conqueror. But then history is relentless, and later on, the Chimus were conquered by the Inca Empire, and the Chimus were not such a good negotiators as the Mochicas. So the Mochicas were conquered by the Chimus, and then the Chimus by the Inca Empire. The Inca was young. He was the last empire, the last Inca Empire, and he was young as the empire itself. So, unfortunately, it's a cultural issue. In all cultures have cultural facts and issues. So he believed he was divine and couldn't die. It was a naive position to negotiate against the Spaniards with a longer tradition in negotiating conflicts. Well, this didn't ended well for the Inca Atahualpa. He was tried, and he offered, in a way, to negotiate a win-win. One room full with gold, jewelry, and two with silver. He did what he promised, but the conquerors didn't. So he ended tried and sentenced to death. Of course, he didn't know the rules of the Western world, and no lawyer or even a court was allowed. And he died. In the following 400 years, conflicts around the mining sector increased. Could you please show the first video, Misael? Thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Land of the brave and not of many. This is the motto of Cerro de Pasco, a Peruvian city that's being devoured by a mine of immense proportions. Its residents live in the shadow of this colossal pit, facing an insidious danger: heavy metal poisoning. This is the story of a community that has been living through an environmental and health crisis, a silent battle that remains largely unresolved. Located at 4,300 meters above sea level in the Andes Mountains, Cerro de Pasco is one of the highest cities in the world. It's also one of the most polluted places on Earth. In response to the dire situation of children in Cerro de Pasco, the government declared the relocation of the entire city as a matter of public necessity and national interest in 2008. But in the 15 years since then, there's been no change. In 2012, and then again in 2017, the Peruvian Ministry of Health declared a state of environmental emergency in Cerro de Pasco. Even though in 2018, the Peruvian government allocated some funds for the construction of a treatment center for children affected by heavy metals, the plan has not been realized. But Lourdes is determined to seek justice. But the town's walls speak loudly about its suffering. Life yes, lead no. This year, Source International uncovered a total of 140 violations of Peruvian heavy metal limits. 115 related to water sources and 25 in soils. Between 2018 and 2023, the Volcan Mining Company has been fined approximately 3.5 million soles, mostly for failing to comply with environmental norms, exceeding contamination limits, and failing to supervise remediation plans, according to Peru's Environmental Assessment and Control Organization. Despite multiple inquiries, neither Volcan nor Glencore, its major shareholder, have responded to pollution allegations. Instead, they continue to shift blame to previous mining operations. Mongave's repeated request for comment from the Peruvian government went unanswered.
Watch this. Just a second, please. Before that one, Misael, as you can see in this short video, the original video is around 30 minutes. I tried to synthesize to just a couple of minutes with the excellent help of Misael's little boy, who's a genius in handle these tools, video tools, editation. So the main consequence in all kind of mining process is pollution. It is worse when it comes to heavy metals, and Peru has a long tradition in all type of kind of mineral extraction. All right, let's see video number 2. It's as sensitive as the first one.
Dirty gold. See the color of this river? This, it's not normal. Inside the illegal gold trade, profits are enormous, destruction immediate. But what happens to that gold once it leaves Peru? We have 2 of these gold chains in front of you. Just by looking at the chain itself, can you tell if either of these are dirty? What would be your guess? But the soil underneath some of the rainforest is laced with gold. And each year, an illegal gold rush is turning thousands of acres of this natural wonder into a toxic wasteland.
Esta área que ustedes le ven todo desolada no es depredado por los mineros de Manuani, sino es por la minería ilegal que han invadido áreas de terra.
What do miners do to the earth when they do mining?
Lo primero es cortar los árboles, luego con unas mangueras y con unas motobombas empiezan a inyectar agua al suelo.
The process turns the soil into 95% sand, almost devoid of all organic matter. This may be the biggest challenge scientists face. Another problem is miners often contaminate the soil with mercury. They use it to bind those tiny flecks of gold into a clump. Gold campaign. What is dirty gold?
Dirty gold is gold that was extracted at a cost to people and the planet that is unacceptable. That may have come at the price of human rights, pristine forests, and clean water.
According to a report by the fair labor nonprofit Verite, illegal gold is laundered by middlemen, then sold to jewelry makers in Lima and refineries as far away as the United States and Switzerland. There, the gold is melted down and purified before being sold again. Often, retailers know little about the origin of the gold they sell, as Techno found out when it visited the jewelry district in Los Angeles.
Thank you, Misael. So as you could watch in this video, gold extraction cause pollution too. Since mercury or cyanide and a mixture of hydrochloric and nitric acid are employed during the process of extraction, right? Not to mention the enormous, the giant devastation of the forests in the Amazon jungle, which is carries on another bigger problem with global warming hitting. All right. Could we please go to the following slide, Misael? Thank you. So, based in these 2 videos, I'm going to make some conclusions about a short summary of how conflicts arise in a multicultural environment. Multicultural environments, when they lack of some macro governance elements, they tend to be very, very conflicted. For this analysis, I just have considered 4 elements. The first one is the ethnical and cultural differences. Okay, when not everyone speaks the same languages, not everyone eats the same, not everyone has the same uses, it's easily to conflict. Besides that, as you could see, this industry started in the 400 years ago, over 100 years ago. So we have historical resentments. Also, we have laws and policies that are not clear, that are in a gray zone. We have plenty of laws, but many of them are not efficient. Also, we have corporative and political personal agendas, right? Each political party has an own agenda, although all the global conglomerates have an agenda too. So what people feel is that they come to Peru, they take the wealth and left almost nothing behind. Not wealth for them, right? So the matching of these 4 macro elements, it's the perfect environment for a conflict. So now I'm going to drill down and I'm going to explain some main conflict root cases. First, we have pollution, which you have seen. It's the main the main consequence in mining. Then we see diseases, right? Because of contamination, because of contaminated water, air, all kind of pollution. Then you see risk management. And why I'm talking about risk management, because diseases do not show up themselves. They show up because somebody didn't manage the risk involved with the extraction process well. Also, another important element is stakeholders management. And all of you that have some knowledge in project management know that stakeholders management is a very wide field, right? It involves many things. Please, Misael. Another important is communication management, right? So stakeholders management implies know all the people involved, from inside, from outside, their cultural differences, what they want, their expectations, what they really expect from a project, what they really want, and sometimes they don't know what they want. That's important. Communication, you have to mimetize with them the way they speak, what do they eat, how do they talk, verbal and non-verbal communication. Also, scope management. Why scope management? Because maybe I come to a town and say, I will build a hospital, and the community needs or wants a football court. So I give them something they don't want or they don't need. So I have to go into a process of mutual construction of an scope or something they want, and then turn that into a project. I have remarked all these 4 elements because all of them are part of the body of knowledge of the PMI. So for those of you that know some about project management, you know that when you go and you sit in a table to negotiate a specific conflict, you need to have, it's a must, an enormous and extensive checklist of who your client is and what your client wants. So you do not only need to be efficient, but you need to be effective, right? To avoid mistaking with their wishes, their expectations. There is nothing worse that to unfulfill your client expectations, because it's a root for conflicts. I could list I don't know how many stories I have heard about conflicts that involve billions of dollars, because historical resentment, lack of assertive communication, gray communication, inappropriate stakeholders management, stop these projects. It's unbelievable. There was benefit for the clients, for the community. Yes, it was. But due to misunderstandings, none of this project could succeed. And everybody lost. The country lost taxes. These people lost jobs, the chance to send their children to school, to university, to be professionals, create wealth for the good of the country, right? So also you need to know very well the culture, right? Knowing the culture is a must. Otherwise, you don't know how they behave and why they behave like that, right? And you need to learn to be empathic. I'm sorry, if you are not the kind of a person who feels empathy, you will need to transform into one that really needs. Because if you go and you try to show empathy, but it's a fake empathy, they will notice this. And young people is very perceptive. They're very perceptive. You have to make them feel that you are real, right? So just to conclude, I'm sorry, unfortunately, time is tyrannic, and I just have 15 minutes for this presentation, and I'm about to finish. So I have plenty of things to tell you about all the considerations, all the elements you have to bring to a table. You have to know before sitting into a table to negotiate, right? That's almost all from my side. Thank you for your patience and time and in listening this presentation. Thank you. Ready for questions.
Thanks, Rob. Yes, we have two questions. The first of them, what language the negotiation is conducted in, it can be an important factor in determining where the power in negotiation lies. When the negotiation parties speak different language, how do you negotiate in a way that does not give power to one side or other? For example, choosing to negotiate in Spanish versus indigenous language, such as Quechua and Aymara.
Wow, thank you, Manny. That's a very tricky question. But yeah, I know you work in Africa and on NGOs, and you have a lot of experience on that. But thank you for asking me the question. What language the negotiation is conducted? Yes, it's an important factor, and since for a project manager, specifically in Peru, it's to have a project manager, a negotiator that speaks besides Spanish, English, Quechua, and Aymara. You can use a translator, but you just don't go and pick up any translator. You have to test your translator before, right? You and I know what is translations about, and interpretation, which is not the same, and you need to train your translator, so just to assure that he or she is sending the right message, right? Not only passing code from one language to another, right? Also, when you speak to the interpreter, you need to be very careful with your nonverbal communication, right? Because people read from your gesture, the way you involve, the way you ask, the way your face looks, right? So you need to prepare yourself in your body language very well before jumping even with an interpreter on the table. The other part was I forgot. It's a long question. I'm sorry. Oh yeah. Yeah. How do you negotiate? Give you power on one side. Okay. First, my suggestion is focus on the common interest and be very objective. And to be objective, you need to know, you need to have research on the needs of the client or clients, because sometimes they do not know their own needs. You need to clarify. Did you notice that your 5 children have suffer from pneumonia or suffer from I don't know what diseases because it's cold in winter and you have no heat, right? So shouldn't you focus on your children? Don't you love your children? You have very creative. You have to. You need to have the skill to improvise and be very agile to propose things on the go, because people will show up with I don't know hidden things. You will also find people with hidden agendas, especially those who profit from the conflict itself. And some of these people that profit from conflicts themselves, they sometimes they do not belong to that community, but they find a way to mix between them, mimetize, and speak for them. But those people that profit from conflict not necessarily want the community uh, prosperity. I don't know if I answer the question, Manny. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Rob. We have other question. How will you resolve this conflict in mining sector industry?
Oof, wow. uh, well, it's very complex. As I explained, there are so many elements. Currently, I'm working with Misael. I'm training some models using AI and feeding them with plenty of information. So to feed the model and to rely on the outcome, you need to know very, very well. You need to know official data, confirmed facts. Otherwise, the model will hallucinate, and you will have the wrong strategy, the wrong answer, the wrong speech to the community, right? But as I always say, let's do not forget the all common sense. It always works. Observation, analysis, and integration. Simple.
Thank you. And we have the final one. It's very interesting narration in this sector. As per your experience, what actions are being taken in the political lines to resolve these conflicts?
Wow, dear Joyce, I would like to just say we have advanced, but unfortunately, we have around 120 conflicts yet going on. The political turbulence did not allow in the last years to move on forward to resolving these kind of um, unfortunate situations. Hopefully, in the coming government, we will go on that. Yeah, it's not only Peru. It's I guess it's all over the world, right? But in Latin America, specifically in Peru, it's very sensitive. I know that also Africa, some countries in Africa had these issues.
Okay, and we have a final question for Misa. Misa, how can you see Gen AI practical situations while facing conflicts?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thank you for putting on the table. Yeah, this will help you, resolve conflicts more effectively, right? In less time, and it can also help you predict conflicts, right? Think about analyzing a minutes chat conversation that you have with your team, right? You can use generative AI to analyze this conversation and try to find patterns, right? Behaviors. So maybe sometimes you want to make a matrix of the how to say of the stakeholders, right? And you want to also see where you potentially will have conflicts. So you want to use these models to anticipate them. When you have them, you can also use it to find creative ways to solve these problems, right? Using data, using historical information, or with the information that you feed into the conversation with these models.
Thank you so much, Misa. Thank you, Rob. And well, to close these sessions, we have some announcements. About specifically these sessions, we want to share with you the information about the PDUs. This is the ID for this course and also the code that you can use for claim your PDUs. Also, the invitation is to follow us, follows in our LinkedIn page, also in our YouTube channel, and also to join the LinkedIn group. The team posts many interesting information, and it's the way to be aware of our next event. Then the invite is join us in all our social media networks. And talking about the next events, we have two announcements. The next sessions that we will have to you will be very interesting. Will be on September 14, and this will be a practical sessions. This is your opportunity to start practicing your negotiation under a safe environment. You will have like a mentor, a coach to introduce you in some best practices about the negotiation. It's a good opportunity to put in place all the knowledge that we received in previous sessions. Then please go to the link or go to the code, and we will be very happy to see you in this next event. We will have all the schedules in the screen, but well, it will be a very, very good practical session. Then see you there. And about our sponsors, the chapter of Argentina, it's inviting us to participate in our call for papers. They will have his event, his national event. Then it's the opportunity to participate. If you want to be there, we have this email to share the information, ask some doubts, etc. Then we have 2 invites in these sessions. And well, we only want to say thank you. Thank you all for your participation, and thank you for all the people that are behind the scenes for these sessions. Thank for all the support. And the team for negotiations for project managers will see you in the next sessions. Don't forget it, September 14. Then thank you again for your participation here, and have a great Saturday and a great weekend ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you, Misael, and a big thanks to all the attendees.
Thank you all.